We live in a time when money feels more uncertain than ever. Prices rise, jobs change, markets swing. People scroll through news feeds filled with fear, recession warnings, layoffs, inflation, crisis after crisis. But beneath this chaos, something powerful is happening. More people than at any point in history are learning how to take control of their finances, not by chasing luck, not by gambling, but by understanding how wealth truly works. This video is about that transformation, about the moment your life changes because you finally understand money and yourself. And today, we're not just going to talk theory, we're going to walk through real stories of real people who built financial freedom one step, one habit, one decision at a time. Let's start with honesty. Most of us weren't taught how money works. We were taught how to earn, how to work, how to hustle. But we were never taught how to grow our money or how to make it work for us. The economy changes faster than people do. Jobs that once lasted 30 years are disappearing. The cost of living rises faster than salaries. And people feel trapped, not because they're lazy, but because the world evolved without giving them a roadmap. But here's the truth. You don't escape this system by working harder. You escape it by understanding the system. Because the wealthy do not win by working more hours. They win by building assets, by controlling their time, by making decisions that compound. That's the shift this video will teach you. Every financially free person has a turning point, a moment when they realize, no one is coming to save me, but I can save myself. For some people, that moment comes after a financial crisis. For others, after a layoff. For others, after realizing that 40 years of work for someone else is not a plan. It's a trap. Let me tell you about someone who had that moment. Real story. Chris Hogan's turning point. Chris grew up in a working-class home. Money was always tight. He once said he watched his parents work themselves to exhaustion just to pay bills, and he swore he'd never live like that. But as an adult, he repeated the same pattern: overspending, debt, stress. One night, after a long argument with his wife about finances, he stopped and asked himself, "What am I doing? How can I be a strong man if money controls me?" That night was his turning point. He built a budget. He eliminated debt. He invested, small amounts at first, consistently. 10 years later, he was financially independent. Turning points don't look dramatic. They usually happen in quiet rooms, at kitchen tables, in moments when you finally face the truth. You don't need complexity to build wealth. You need a system simple enough to follow consistently. Here's the simple math. 1. Earn. 2. Save. 3. Invest. 4. Repeat. That's it. But people underestimate how powerful this becomes. Because $200 a month, invested consistently, can grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades, even with average returns. Let's break it down using someone real. Ronald Read was a janitor. He never made big money. He wore the same jacket for 20 years. He drank cheap coffee. People thought he was poor. When he died, he left behind an $8 million portfolio. How? He invested small amounts every month in simple, boring companies and held them for decades. He let compounding do the heavy lifting. Ronald wasn't a genius. He wasn't lucky. He wasn't privileged. He was consistent. That's the real formula the wealthy use and the world overlooks. Wealth is not built in your bank account. It's built in your mind. Your mindset determines your habits. Your habits determine your actions. Your actions determine your results. Here are the 3 mindset shifts every wealthy person eventually makes. Mindset shift number 1. Money is a tool, not a reward. Poor mindset. Spend when life is stressful. Rich mindset. Spend according to goals, not emotions. Mindset shift number 2. Investing is buying time. When you invest, you're not just growing money or silver, you're buying future freedom. Mindset shift number 3. Consistency beats intensity. It's not about one big decision. It's about small decisions, repeated thousands of times. Let's look at someone who lived these principles. Oprah grew up facing poverty, trauma, and emotional abuse, but she transformed her life by changing her relationship with money. She once said, "The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change their future by changing their attitude." She saved aggressively. She invested wisely. She built her own company, something unheard of for women of color at the time, and she became one of the richest self-made women in history. That's the power of mindset. Let's break it into practical steps. No fluff, no theory. Step 1. Build a financial foundation. Create an emergency fund. Track your spending for 30 days. Eliminate high-interest debt. Step 2. Design a simple investment plan. Most everyday millionaires use the same formula. Index funds, bonds for stability, automatic monthly contributions. Step 3. Increase your earning power. The fastest way to grow wealth is not cutting expenses, it's increasing income. Ways to do that: learn a high-income skill, start a micro business, freelance, negotiate your salary. Step 4. Automate everything. Automation removes emotion, the number one enemy of investors. Step 5. Play the long game. Hold through crashes, hold through fear, hold through boredom. The market rewards those who stay. Let me tell you about a man named Gordon, a real example often discussed in financial circles. Not a celebrity, not a CEO, just a UPS driver. He worked the same job for 40 years, lived simply, invested regularly into index funds, ignored market noise, let compounding work. When he retired, he had accumulated $70 million in his portfolio. The world was shocked, but Gordon wasn't. He knew exactly what he was doing for decades. You don't need fame to build wealth. You need patience. You need clarity. You need discipline. Let's talk about the hardest part of wealth creation, your emotions. Fear will whisper, "What if the market crashes? What if you lose money? What if you're not cut out for this?" Doubt will whisper, "You're too late. You don't make enough. You'll never catch up." But here's the truth. Fear is loud. Logic is quiet. Compounding is louder. Let's look at someone who faced fear head-on. Real story. Ray Dalio, learning through failure. Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater, once made a disastrous prediction early in his career. He was wrong, terribly wrong, and lost everything. He went broke. He had to borrow money from his dad. But that failure taught him humility, discipline, and the importance of diversification. He rebuilt from scratch, eventually becoming a billionaire. Failure doesn't end your story. It shapes you. There is a version of you 5 years from now who is calmer, more confident, more in control, less stressed, and financially free. They exist, but they're waiting for one thing: the decisions you make today, your habits, your discipline, your willingness to take action even when you're afraid. You don't need to know everything right now. You just need to take the next step. Most people think that taking action is risky. But here's the truth we rarely talk about. Doing nothing has a cost, and it's bigger than you think. Every year you delay investing, every year you refuse to learn about money, every year you stay stuck in fear, you're silently paying a price. Inflation chips away at your savings. Your skills fall behind the economy. Your confidence shrinks as life moves forward without you. And your dreams? They get pushed further and further into the fog. Look around you. Think about the people who once said, "I'll start saving next year. I'll invest when I make more money. I need to wait until things feel stable." Years passed. Nothing changed. they're still tired, still overwhelmed, still living in the same loop: work, bills, stress, repeat. Why? Because time is the one investment you never get back. Research from JP Morgan shows something shocking. If you start investing at 25 and stop at 35, you can still end up with more at retirement than someone who starts at 35 and invests consistently until 65. 10 years of early action beats 30 years of waiting. That's the power of momentum. That's the power of starting before you feel ready. When you choose inaction, you're not avoiding risk. You're choosing the most expensive risk of all: staying the same. So ask yourself honestly, what is the cost of waiting another year, another month, another week? Your future self is already begging you, please, just begin. 20 years ago, people could survive with average finances. Today, not anymore. The world has changed. The rules of money have changed. But most people are still playing the old game. Let's break this down clearly. 1. The economy is moving faster than wages. Global living costs have skyrocketed. Housing, education, healthcare, they're growing far faster than your salary. A study from the Pew Research Center found that while productivity has risen 62% over the last decades, wages have barely moved. If you rely only on earned income, you're falling behind without even realizing. 2. The middle class is shrinking everywhere. Across the US, Europe, and Asia, the middle class is getting squeezed. Why? Because the world now rewards people who own assets, not people who only trade time for money. 3. Technology is eliminating safe jobs. AI, automation, outsourcing. Entire industries are shifting. People who believed their jobs were stable for decades suddenly realize the truth. No job is safe, but skills and investments are. That's why you see more people building side incomes, learning digital skills, and investing earlier. 4. Wealth isn't luxury anymore, it's protection. It protects you from layoffs, from emergencies, from bad luck, from being controlled by fear. Wealth means options. It means time. It means dignity. 5. Everyday people are proving it's possible. Look at ordinary success stories. Grace Groner, who invested $180 in stocks and quietly built $7 million. Ronald Read, a janitor who became a multimillionaire through simple, patient investing. Thousands of teachers, nurses, delivery workers, freelancers, all growing wealth through small, consistent steps. They didn't come from rich families. They didn't win the lottery. They didn't wait for the perfect economy. They just played the new game while the world played the old one. And that's the point. In today's world, wealth is no longer optional. It's survival. And building it is no longer impossible. It's more accessible than ever. You simply have to begin. If something in this video sparked a thought, a shift, even a tiny desire to take control of your financial life, don't let it fade. Hit subscribe. Join a community of people building wealth with clarity, discipline, and courage. Every week, we break down the tools, the strategies, and the real stories that turn financial stress into financial freedom. Your future self is counting on you. Subscribe now, and let's build your freedom together.